the Grand Master of Demonic Cultivation. Special Extra Chapter, From Dawn to Dusk. It was already long past 9, yet Wei Wuxian still hadn't returned yet. The paper lamp on the desk was still lit. Lan Wangji stared at its blurry aura, his eyes unblinking. A moment later, he stood up, walked to the entrance of the Jingxi, and opened the wooden door. Having stayed still for a second, he seemed as if he was finally going to step outside when an odd thump suddenly came from behind him. Lan Wangji spun around only to see that the window had some time ago opened without him noticing, its flaps still swaying amidst the night wind. A large bulge rose from within the thin blanket on the bed. It seemed as if something had broken in through the window, rolled inside, and was currently curled up within, shifting and shuffling. After a moment of silence, Lan Wangji shut the door gently. He went back inside the room, on his way blowing the lamp out, closed the window, and got onto the bed. He lay beside the considerable bulge. Quietly pulling over the other blanket, he shut his eyes. Soon, something big and cold suddenly snuck inside his sheets. The thing snuggled onto his body, right against his chest, and giddily exclaimed, "Lanzan, I'm back. You should welcome me." Lan Wangji wrapped his arms around the other. "Why are you so cold?" "Wei Wuxian, I was outside in the wind for more than half the day. Let me borrow your heat." So that was why he was covered in grass and dust. He must have again taken the juniors of the cloud recesses to disturb the beasts and monsters of remote mountains. Wei Wuxian rolled around his bed and his sheets in such filthy clothes, yet Lan Wangji didn't seem bothered at all, despite his usual preference for cleanliness. He tightened his arms slightly, hugging Wei Wuxian even closer. After a while of warming the other with his body, Lan Wangji spoke, "Take your shoes off at least." Wei Wuxian replied, "Sure." And he kicked off his boots against each of his legs before sneaking into the blanket again to freeze Lan Wangji. Lan Wangji spoke, his voice thin, "Do not mess around." "Wei Wuxian, I'm in your bed already, and you're telling me not to mess around?" "Lan Wangji, uncle has returned." Lan Qiren's residence was not far away from Lan Wangji's Jingxi. He never liked Wei Wuxian in the first place. If they happened to elicit some inappropriate sounds, the very next day he would probably stomp his feet angrily, throwing another fit at Wei Wuxian. Yet Wei Wuxian shoved his knee between Lan Wangji's legs, rubbing it against him with both arousal and mischief to straightforwardly express his attitude using action. After a moment of silence, Lan Wangji flipped him around with force and pushed Wei Wuxian down under him. The motion was so wide and force so strong that the two made a loud knock against the wooden bed. "Slow down, slow down, slow down. Slow down." Lan Wangji pinned Wei Wuxian on the bed, entering with irresistible vigor as he thrust inside, all the way until his abdomen was tight against Wei Wuxian's naked buttocks. Only when he couldn't dive any deeper did he stop. Wei Wuxian drew in a few breaths, shaking his head. Feeling a bit scared to move, he rolled his eyes and wriggled in discomfort, wanting to move it out a bit, yet Lan Wangji noticed what he was trying to do and clenched his waist to plunge back in again. Wei Wuxian responded with an awe, exclaiming, "Han Guangjun." Lan Wangji spoke after a while of endurance, "You asked for it." With a pause, he began to thrust. Wei Wuxian was firmly restrained underneath Lan Wangji with his legs curled up, hair disheveled and cheeks red. With every movement, his body would bob upward. Each time Lan Wangji drove inside, Wei Wuxian would let out a moan with much obedience. After a while of toil, Lan Wangji finally couldn't let him continue like this any longer. He forced back the heavy breaths that were about to escape his chest, keeping his voice low, Be quieter." Wei Wuxian reached out and touched his face. He found it quite strange. Lanzan's thin face was clearly so warm to the touch, yet it didn't show the slightest hint of red, still so snowy and handsome that he almost couldn't control his racing heart. It was only the earlobes that were tinted with a light pink. He breathed, "Urgege, you don't want to hear me moan?" Lan Wangji. Seeing how he looked, Too ashamed to speak the truth yet too upright to lie, Wei Wuxian could feel his entire body fill with unspeakable pleasure, so much that he could swallow Lan Wangji whole right then. He continued, "Scared my moans would be heard by someone? Easy, just silence me." Lan Wangji's chest heaved up and down, his eyes slightly bloodshot. Wei Wuxian urged, "Come on. Silence me and fuck me however you want to. I won't be able to make a sound even if you fuck me to death." Before he finished, Lan Wangji bent down and covered his lips. After his mouth was muffled, all four of Wei Wuxian's limbs slithered up. The two rolled around on the bed in a tight embrace. The blankets had long since been thrown onto the ground. In bed, Lan Wangji never usually changed positions frequently. After having endured it for almost an hour, Wei Wuxian was already numb all the way from his back to his legs, suspicious that he might be fucked like this for the entire night. Seeing Lan Wangji's fervor that showed no sign of stopping, he felt that it might really happen. And thus, Wei Wuxian took the initiative to flip around and sit atop Lan Wangji's body. He wrapped his arms around Lan Wangji's neck, writing as he bit Lan Wangji's earlobe, "Is it deep?" The low whisper was warm and wet. Lan Wangji reached out and pressed his shoulder down hard. It was a deep plunge indeed. Wei Wuxian exclaimed. Hugging him back, Lan Wangji rubbed the back of his waist. "Is it deep?" Wei Wuxian still hadn't returned from the surprise. His lips quivered for a bit. Before he could answer, he suddenly cried again, face wrinkled, "Ah! Wait! In a 9 shallows and a deep." In vain, he covered his abdomen with one hand as he dug the other into the firm yet not too bulky muscles of Lan Wangji's shoulder. He shouted with the force of everything he had, "Lan San! Don't you understand what 9 shallows and a deep is? You don't have to always be so." The last sentence was broken into fragments from the thrust. "Lan Wangji, I do not." Although at first he cried and wailed, saying anything possible to beg for mercy, yet in the second half of the night, after 2 rounds had finished, Wei Wuxian still had his legs locked firmly around Lan Wangji's waist, refusing to let him go. Lan Wangji's body covered Wei Wuxian's, careful not to let the weight of his body fall onto Wei Wuxian. Where the two connected was still wet and slippery. Lan Wangji seemed as if he was going to rise, yet with just a slight movement, Wei Wuxian drew his legs back in, and the small segment that had just parted was stuffed smoothly back inside. Wei Wuxian spoke lazily, "Don't move. The wind's gonna come in. Let's rest for a bit." Lan Wangji listened and stopped moving. A while later, he turned to Wei Wuxian, "Do you not feel uncomfortable?" Wei Wuxian made an unfortunate face, "I do. I feel like I'm filled to the brim. Couldn't you hear how miserable my moans were?" "Lan Wangji, I will come out." Wei Wuxian immediately switched to another expression, his words frank, "I just love it when I'm filled by you like this. It's quite great, really." As he spoke, he tightened suddenly. Lan Wangji's face changed, even his breaths paused for a moment. After holding it back for a long while, he finally replied in a hoarse voice, "Shameless." Seeing how he was almost driven mad, Wei Wuxian laughed loudly and planted a kiss on his lips. Jeej, what haven't we done so far? What's the use of shame now?" Lan Wangji couldn't help but shake his head. He spoke in a low voice, "Let me out. You need to bathe." Wei Wuxian was already a bit tired. He responded through the haze, "Not gonna bathe. I'll do it tomorrow. I'm so tired today." Lan Wangji kissed his forehead, "Bathe, or you might fall ill." Wei Wuxian was so tired that he couldn't restrain Lan Wangji any longer. Finally, he let his soft limbs fall. Lan Wangji got off the bed and first picked up the blankets that had been thrown onto the ground, covering Wei Wuxian's naked body tightly. Then, he hung the disordered clothes tossed all about the room onto the screen. He put on his clothes, quickly making sure that everything was neat, and went out to bring water for the bath. 15 minutes later, Wei Wuxian, who had almost fallen asleep, was picked up and put into the wooden tub. The tub was placed right beside Lan Wangji's desk. After having soaked for a while, Wei Wuxian felt energized again, patting the edge of the tub. Not gonna join me, Han Guangjun? Lan Wangji, later. Wei Wuxian, why later? Come in now. Lan Wangji glanced at him, as if thinking about something. A moment later, he spoke, we have been back for 4 days, and 4 of the Jingxi's bathtubs have fallen apart. That glance made Wei Wuxian feel like he had to protest for himself. It wasn't my fault the one from last time broke. Lan Wangji put the box holding the soap somewhere Wei Wuxian was able to reach, his voice calm, it was mine. Wei Wuxian splattered a handful of water onto his neck, making the string of red kiss marks even brighter. Yeah. The one from that time before wasn't my fault either. Actually, let's be honest here, you broke them every single time. You haven't gotten over this habit ever since our first time. Lan Wangji got up. When he returned, he rested a jar of Emperor's Smile by Wei Wuxian's hand before sitting down at the desk. Yes. If Wei Wuxian extended his arm just a bit longer, he'd be able to scratch Lan Wangji's chin. And indeed, that was what he did. Lan Wangji took up a few pieces of paper, all covered in words, and began to read them as he wrote down lines that resembled simple comments. Immersed in water, Wei Wuxian opened the jar and took a gulp before asking, what are you looking at? Lan Wangji, Night Hunt Notes. Wei Wuxian, by the children? You're not the one responsible for making notes, are you? I thought it was supposed to be your uncle. Lan Wangji, when uncle is busy, I occasionally mark them. Perhaps because Lan Qiren was busy with other, more important jobs, this task had temporarily be delegated to Lan Wangji. Wei Wuxian grabbed a few pages and flipped through. Back then, your uncle would comment hundreds of characters after just a couple of lines before doing summaries at the end that were almost 1,000 characters long. I don't even know where he got the time to write those comments. Well, your comments are quite short, aren't they? Lan Wangji, and is that not good? Wei Wuxian, it is. Short and sweet. It definitely wasn't out of cutting corners that Lan Wangji's comments were short. He wouldn't slack off in the slightest way, no matter how simple the task was. Rather, it was his habit to be as concise as possible, no matter in words or writing. Wei Wuxian buried his head in the water and didn't come up again after a long while, his hair wet. With one hand, he grabbed the soap and rubbed it on his hair, while with the other, he took one of the notes from atop the desk. After a look, he suddenly burst out laughing. Who wrote this? There are so many mistakes, ha 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 ha, I just knew it was Jing Yi. You gave him a Yi. Translator note, refresher, Jia is A, Yi is B, Bing is C, and Ding is you don't deserve to be a cultivator. Lan Wangji, yes. Wei Wuxian, there are so many notes and he's the only Yi I've seen. Poor kid. Lan Wangji, his are verbose and prone to errors. Wei Wuxian, what happens when you get a Yi? Lan Wangji, nothing. Rewrite. Wei Wuxian, he should be thankful. It's better than punishment by standing upside down, after all. Quietly, Lan Wangji collected the papers that he messed with and put them straight before laying them in a neat stack at the side. Watching his movements, Wei Wuxian felt his lips naturally curl into a smile. He asked again, what did you give Sizui? Lan Wangji pulled out 2 of the notes and passed them to him. Jia. Wei Wuxian accepted it and scanned, his handwriting is quite neat. Lan Wangji, his are logically organized and substantially apropos. Having flipped through the stack in his hands, he looked across at the one on the desk that hadn't been marked yet. You have to look through all of these? Want me to help you with a few? Lan Wangji, yes. Wei Wuxian, I'll just mark any mistakes I see and comment on them, right? He reached out and grabbed the larger half. Lan Wangji was about to take it back when Wei Wuxian retracted his hand. What are you doing? Lan Wangji, those are too much. You should bathe. Wei Wuxian grabbed the Emperor's Smile again and took a sip, taking up a brush pen. I'm bathing. It's not like I have anything else to do. It's quite fun reading these notes and essays written by the children. Lan Wangji, you have to rest after you bathe. Wei Wuxian flaunted, you think I look like I could fall asleep now? I think I'd have no problem with 2 more rounds, even. As he watched Wei Wuxian cling to the edge of the tub, reading the notes carefully and at times propping an elbow on the desk to write, the candlelight reflected against Lan Wangji's eyes seemed to flicker with warmth. Although his words were rather bold, claiming he could go 2 more rounds and such, it was difficult for him to not feel the fatigue, having run amok in the mountains with the boys for the whole day, messed around in bed for half the night, and marked a stack of notes. After he forced himself to meticulously mark his portion, he tossed it onto the desk before sliding into the water. Quickly yet gently, Lan Wangji picked him up, wiped him dry, and transferred him onto the bed. After Lan Wangji took a quick bath and got in bed as well, hugging Wei Wuxian in his arms, Wei Wuxian continued to be awake for a short while, hazily whispering by his collarbone, the kids in your sect are quite good at writing essays. They're just missing that tiny bit when it comes to night hunting. Lan Wangji, Amen. Wei Wuxian, but that's no problem. I'll make them cram hard while I'm at the cloud recesses. Tomorrow, I'll take them to wreck the mountain demon nests again. The single-legged mountain demon was powerful and covered in black fur. It ate people like munching on vegetables. If it were someone else, from the way he said it, they would have thought he was taking a group of runny-nosed toddlers to the rooftop to steal bird eggs. The corners of Lan Wangji's lips moved slightly, as if he was about to smile. Today was mountain demons again? Wei Wuxian, yeah. That's why I said they've got more work to do. After all, mountain demons only have 1 leg. They almost couldn't escape from single-legged ones, so if later on they meet 4-legged lizards, 8-legged spiders, or 100-legged centipedes, wouldn't they have to wait for their deaths? Oh, right. Han Guangjun, I'm out of money. Give me a bit more, won't you? Lan Wangji, simply take the jade token to withdraw the money. Wei Wuxian let out a muffled laugh, apart from letting me in and out of the barrier, that jade token you gave me can also let me draw money? Yes. Lan Wangji, did you ruin the stall or residence of a passers-by? Wei Wuxian, no. Of course not. I spent all the money because after the night hunt, I took them to that Hunan cuisine at Ke Town. The exact one you never agreed to go no matter how much I tried to persuade you. I'm so tired. Stop talking to me, Lan Zan. Lan Wangji, yes. Wei Wuxian, I told you to stop talking. Even if you say just 1 word, I won't be able to hold myself from responding. Okay, Lan Zan, let's sleep. I can't anymore. I really have to sleep. See you tomorrow, Lan Zan. He kissed Lan Zan's neck, and indeed soon fell heavily asleep. It was all darkness and silence amidst the Jingxi. A moment later, Lan Wangji planted a gentle kiss in the center of Wei Wuxian's forehead. He whispered, Wei Ying, see you tomorrow. In Chapter The Grand Master of Demonic Cultivation. Extra Chapter, Intrusion, Part 2. Hearing this, the 2 exchanged a glance. Lan Sisui perked up. Wei Wuxian, I'm all ears to your story. After some thought, young Master Qin began slowly, it's not really much of a story. I'm not too familiar with him either. When I was young, I grew up at my grandmother's house in a rural village. He was one of the servants of my grandmother's household. As we were of similar age, we grew up playing with each other. Wei Wuxian, that's called a childhood friend, how come you say you're not familiar with him? Young Master Qin, because as we grew up, we drifted apart. Wei Wuxian, take some time to think. Have you ever offended this servant in any way? Young Master Qin, there has been one instance, though I'm not too sure how serious it was either. Lan Wangji, go on. Young Master Qin, the servant has always served my grandmother by her side. Because he was quick while working and was about the same age as me, my grandmother took quite a liking to him, often praising him for being clever. As a result of this, he also grew somewhat proud, always following the juniors of our clan with no regard to the difference between master and servant. Later, my grandmother even let him go to school with us. One day, the teacher left us a difficult problem. Amid the discussion, someone came up with a first answer. Just as the class was expressing their approval, the servant suddenly spoke up and said that it was wrong. Young Master Ken, at that time, that servant had only been going to school for a few months, yet we've been schooling for a couple of years. It was needless to say who was right. Immediately, someone proved him wrong. Yet he was extremely stubborn, insisting that the previous person answered wrong to show us his way of solving it. In the end, the entire class felt annoyed by him, and together chased him away. At this point, Lin Sizui couldn't help but spoke, "Young Master Ken, even if he annoyed you, he never did anything too extreme. Why drive him out?" Wei Wuxian, "Young Master Ken, from this it sounds like your whole gang of juniors offended him. Do you hold a unique position in this? Or else he wouldn't have only sought after you, but rather visit everyone part of the group." Young Master Ken, "Back then, I was the first to tell him to leave. It was only a casual remark at first, yet who knew everyone had long since been fed up with him, and the situation broke out. Surprisingly, he had quite a temper. He went back, telling my grandmother that he wouldn't come again, and he really never came back." Wei Wuxian, "I'll ask you 2 more questions. You must answer in truth, young Master Ken." Young Master Ken, "Go ahead." "My first question." Wei Wuxian's eyes shone brightly, "You said that someone came up with a first answer. Does this someone happen to be you?" After a pause, young Master Ken replied, "Is this important?" Wei Wuxian, "Then, my second question, regarding the solution to that problem, in the end, who was right and who was wrong?" Young Master Ken had on an unpleasant expression. He flipped his sleeves, his voice cold. "The incident happened years before now. Please excuse my inability to recall every single detail. But in all honesty, who has never acted on impulse when they were young, doing inexplicable things, meeting inexplicable people? Please don't tangle yourselves in such an incident. Right now, all I want is to deal with this matter as soon as possible." Wei Wuxian grinned, "Yes. I understand, I understand." Lan Wangji, "When was his passing?" Young Master Ken, "About 2 years ago, I think." Wei Wuxian, 2 years? That's not too bad, not an old corpse but not fresh either. How did he die? Suicide? No. I heard he ran around drunken in the middle of the night before accidentally falling to his death. If it's not suicide, the situation isn't so bad after all. Young Master Ken, is there anything else? No. Then please go back for now. Later, talismans will be taken to your residence. If you happen to recall anything else, please notify us as soon as possible. After they returned to the cottage, Lan Sizui shut the door and let out a breath of relief. Young Master Ken. He is truly. Lan Wangji suddenly spoke up, 2 years. Wei Wuxian, yes. 2 years is a bit strange. Lan Sizui, strange? Wei Wuxian pulled a blank talisman from his sleeve. If a creature full of hatred is seeking revenge, it'd usually begin its haunting the night of the 7th day after its death. Those that take a little longer sometimes begin within a year. Since it had already turned into a fierce corpse, why would it take 2 years to visit? Lan Sizui guessed, could it be that he could not find young Master Ken's new address within the 2 years? He imagined the corpse knocking door after door at night, peeking inside to see if young Master Ken was inside. Coldness slithered up his back. Wei Wuxian, however, dismissed the guess. No. The corpse used to be friends with young Master Ken. It wouldn't be hard to find him through his scent. And if it were like you said, it would have very likely made a few mistakes on its journey, so there shouldn't be only a single incident of a fierce corpse slamming on somebody's door. Lanzon, you've read more files than I have and you remember things better. In the 2 years, have you seen similar accounts? He entered the study as Lan Wangji answered, I have not. Wei Wuxian, exactly. I can't find the cinnabar, Lan Zhan. He took out a brush, I used it just last night. Did either of you see the cinnabar? Lan Wangji went inside as well and found the cinnabar for him. Wei Wuxian dipped the tip of his brush inside the dainty little cup before he poured himself some tea and sat down at the desk. With tea in his left hand and the brush in his right, he scrawled across the talisman paper without even looking, talking to Lan Wangji, if you don't remember, it definitely didn't happen. And so, there should be another reason as to why it didn't do anything to young Master Qin in the 2 years. Alright, I'm finished. He peeled off the talisman still wet with cinnabar from the desk and gave it to Lan Sizui, go bring this to him. Lan Sizui accepted it and scrutinized every angle, despite not being able to understand a single thing. Having never seen on any book such wild, unrestrained runes, he couldn't help but ask, Senior Wei. This is not just a random scribble, is it? Wei Wuxian, of course it is. I never use my eyes when I'm drawing talismans. Wei Wuxian grinned, don't worry. It'll definitely work. Speaking of it, Sizui, you don't like young Master Qin all that much, do you? Lan Sizui thought about it, I do not know either. He responded with honesty, he never did anything truly evil, but perhaps I find it difficult to deal with people of such character. I do not particularly like the tone with which he mentioned the word servant. He paused at this point. Wei Wuxian was oblivious to it, typical. Most of the people in this world looks down upon servants. Servants sometimes even look down upon themselves. Why are you two looking at me like that? Halfway through, he interrupted, not knowing whether to laugh or frown. Stop, is there a misunderstanding here? How could I compare? Lotus Pier isn't the usual household, after all. I've beaten Zhang Qing up way more times than he's ever beaten me. Lan Wangji didn't say anything, but instead gave him a silent hug. Wei Wuxian couldn't help but smiled. He hugged back, stroking Lan Wangji's back a couple of times. Lan Sizui coughed. Seeing how confident Wei Wuxian looked, not at all sensitive to the word servant, he was finally at ease. Wei Wuxian continued, but it's likely that he'll come again. Lan Sizui paused, can it still not be solved, even today? Lan Wangji, he has not said everything. Wei Wuxian, yes. It's not the first time anyways. You can't cope with these people in any other way, you gotta squeeze their words out bit by bit. Let's see if after tonight, whether he'd say everything tomorrow. As expected, the next day, when Lan Sizui was practicing his sword outside a bamboo cottage, young Master Qin came again. The moment he came, he made it clear, I don't care. Lan Sizui hurried, please wait, young Master Qin. My 2 seniors are still still cultivating. They are at a crucial point and cannot be disturbed. Hearing this, young Master Qin didn't barge right through the courtyard, but still he bombarded Lan Sizui with his puffed up resentment, I don't want to hear about mending the symptom but not the root. I want this thing to never find me again. The second night, young Master Qin was still unable to sleep, reading at night in the main hall. Soon, the fierce corpse, the servant, came once more. It still couldn't enter the house, jumping here and there right outside and slamming the door at times. Somehow, the windows of wood and paper weren't torn apart by it. Quickly afterwards, the noise retreated far into the distance. Young Master Qin, who'd never had any proper shut-eye in quite a few days, finally couldn't manage any longer. Losing his focus, fatigue arose, and he fell into a deep sleep just like that. Not knowing how long had passed, amid the haze, he suddenly heard 3 clear knocks come from the door. Body tightening and bones straightening, he was awake at once. A woman from outside the door called out, "Husband." Young Master Qin had just woken from his sleep, still in a state of confusion. The moment he heard Madame Qin's voice, he got up and went to open the door. Quickly, he remembered that in the past few days, Madame Qin kept on crying and complaining that she couldn't live like this any longer. Only yesterday did she pack up her things and leave for her parents' home. If she came back because she was scared, how could she have had the courage to come back alone in the middle of the night? A woman's curved figure reflected against the paper window. It looked like his wife's figure indeed. But young Master Ken didn't dare make any hasty conclusions. He unsheathed his sword in silence, asking, "My dear, why have you come back? Aren't you mad anymore?" The woman outside the door spoke with a flat tone, "I've come back. I'm not mad. Open the door for me." Young Master Ken couldn't open the door yet, pointing his sword at the door. "My dear, it'd be safer for you if you're with your parents. What if it hasn't left yet, still walking around this house?" Silence came from outside the door. Young Master Ken felt sweat come from the palm holding the sword. Out of the blue, the woman screeched with soaring volume, "Open the door right now. The ghost is coming. Let me inside." Madam Ken, whether real or not, clung to the paper window and screamed. Young Master Ken's scalp tingled. Gripping Wei Wuxian's talisman, he suddenly felt blood surge through his body. Holding his sword, he barged outside. "Young Master Ken," and then a pile of something crashed into my face, making me pass out. "Wei Wuxian, what made you pass out?" Young Master Ken pointed at the desk. Wei Wuxian looked before he began to laugh uncontrollably. "Why fruits?" Young Master Ken fumed, "How would I know?" Wei Wuxian, "Of course you'd know. Nobody would know except for you. These creatures all tend to hold grudges. Have you also thrown fruits at him before?" Young Master Ken said nothing, still dark-faced. From his expression, Wei Wuxian was certain that the guess wasn't too far off, but of course he wouldn't admit it himself. Thus he continued to ask no longer. When young Master Ken spoke up again, the topic had changed as expected. "This morning, I got someone to ask my in-laws. Last night, my wife didn't leave their house at all." Wei Wuxian, "It's something used especially to break the protection barriers of houses, sometimes seen in the ancient books and notebooks. It isn't a harmful being on its own, but as it can imitate the sound and shape of those close to the owner of the house, it often paired up with beings that can't go through the door, helping it fool the owner into opening the door on their own. What a helper that fierce corpse found." Young Master Ken, "No matter what it is, it's useless for me to know. Young Master, the second door has already broken. It's already come into my main hall. If I may, are you going to tell me that I don't have to do anything a second time?" Young Master Ken, Wei Wuxian replied, "Let's reason things out here. This second door was opened by you yourself. If not for that talisman of mine, I dare not say what shape you'd be in right now." Defeated, young Master Ken lashed out, "If this continues, the next time I wake up, won't I see that thing standing right next to my bed?" Wei Wuxian, "If you really want a good night's sleep, young Master Ken, you should work on recalling if there's anything else you forgot to say. Please don't guard any more information this time. You have to know that tonight, ha ha ha, I'm not trying to scare you, but it'll most definitely be in from of your bedroom door." With no other choice, young Master Ken could only tell them one more thing. "The last time I saw him was 2 years ago, when I returned to my home village to commemorate my parents and ancestors. Back then, while paying my respects, I wore a jade pendant. Young Master Ken, he recognized that it belonged to my grandmother and asked to borrow it from me. I thought that he was missing my grandmother, so I gave it to him. Yet soon after he got it, he said he lost the pendant." Wei Wuxian, "And what does lost refer to? Did he lose it by accident or did he sell it?" Young Master Ken hesitated, "I don't know. At first, I thought he sold it and came back with a lie that he lost it. But he didn't continue." Wei Wuxian pressed with patience, "But what?" Lan Wangji was cold-faced throughout, "There is no harm in honesty." Young Master Ken, "But, now that I think about it, he shouldn't have gone as far as to sell something of my grandmother's. Later, I heard he was a drunkard. Perhaps he lost it at night drinking, or maybe he had it stolen. In any case, I was infuriated at the time, so I berated him for it. Wei Wuxian, wait. Young Master Qin, something that pertains to one's life and death should not be blurred with ambiguous diction. The word berate could either be light or serious, with a significant difference in between. So through what means did you berate him? Young Master Qin's brow twitched, adding, if I remember correctly, I gave him somewhat of a beating. Wei Wuxian blinked, well. You don't happen to be the one who broke that lame leg of his, do you?